My name is Mark Warschauer, and I'm a professor of education at UCI, and I'm the director of the project. And we have two other people from our team here. One is Miranda Parker, who is a postdoc in our digital learning lab at UCI, and Dana Saito Stayberger, who's a research specialist, curriculum coordinator, teacher professional development specialist par extraordinaire. And I also want to do a special call out to Omar Shepard, who's in the room, who was actually part of the initial grant we got. We've kind of gravitated more towards partnering with the main school district, Santa Ana Unified. But we started this project off partnering with the Orange County Department of Education, and Omar was a terrific partner then. I just want to give you a tiny bit of background to introduce it. I want to talk just a little bit about kind of the vision behind elementary computing for all. I've been doing research on technology and learning for a long time, and I'm always torn between the potential and the challenges. And in this case, I believe there's a lot of potential to getting computer science and computational thinking and coding into elementary school, but it's also really hard to get it into the curriculum. I mean, you have things like teachers who might have very little background in it. I have a very crowded curriculum, especially in the kind of school districts we're working with here in Southern California. You have large numbers of English learners, and they want to put so much focus on language and literacy. So we intentionally tried to develop a curriculum that had a strong language and literacy focus, where people would see it as supporting what they're trying to do with multilingual learners in their district, rather than in kind of contradiction to them. So we've had a couple of federal grants from the National Science Foundation and the U.S. Department of Education, and we've been developing it. We have a 1-year fully developed curriculum right now to be implemented in upper elementary school. We've been doing it in 4th grade, but it could start in like 3rd grade or 5th grade. And we're developing the 2nd-year curriculum as well. We're also partnering with Marina Bears at Tufts to take a look at some of their curriculum they've developed for K-2 students. But for now, what we have on our website is the first year of the upper elementary curriculum. It focuses a lot on language scaffolding and support. It combines structured inquiry. We're strong believers in inquiry, but we've also seen how if you throw children, maybe with less academic preparation, into unstructured work too fast, it's easy for them to get confused and lost. So we build in structured inquiry, a big focus on developing and connecting with students' sort of cultures and communities and identity. And we also have a lot of resources for teachers, so that teachers with all of our, unlike in some school districts, all our instruction is being done by the classroom, by the elementary school classroom teachers themselves, usually after about a 4-day professional development in the summer. So I just wanted to give that as an introduction. Okay, thank you, Miranda.
Awesome, thank you, Mark. So we're at elementarycomputingforall.org right now. This is our brand new website to kind of consolidate work from our 2 ongoing grants, as well as a previous grant on this topic. So we can go over to the results tab now to kind of start to talk about what we've seen so far in our research. So we're implemented in Santa Ana Unified School District. It has 93% Latino students, 36% English learners, and 81% children on free or reduced price meals. So this is a great location to focus on broadening participation in computing, and specifically building curriculum with supports for multilingual students. So we've seen so far with our curriculum where we're implementing it in fourth grade classrooms. Most of the teachers don't have any prior experience with coding. They're able to implement this 1 hour per week curriculum with ease after the professional development and with monthly support meetings. Are you amused, Mark? My sales pitch for our project. So we do a couple of different ways to evaluate the project. So we evaluate it on the student side and we evaluate it on the teacher side. The student side is what we have the most data on so far. The teacher side, we have a lot of interview data, and we're currently collecting more attitudinal progress reports on the teacher side. So that's going to be updated soon. But on the student side, we measure both their computer science identity as well as computational thinking. So with their identity, we do see increases in different aspects of their identity with computer science after going through the curriculum. So positive perceptions of the field, confidence in their ability to do computer science, talking about computer science with their families, engaging in computer science out of schools. And we also interview some of our students, 4 students per certain classrooms at the start and end of every year. And it's a really great opportunity to expand on these ideas and hear them say, yeah, I brought home my Scratch project and showed my mom and dad, and they wanted to learn too. Or I've been teaching my brother how to do this. Or we did this and then started to do stuff in Minecraft. And really taking this as an introduction to computing and totally running with it and starting to grow identification with the field in populations that are typically underrepresented and underserved in computing. We also have started to see statistical gains in their computational thinking ability. Previously, we used a different survey, so we'll kind of talk about the different tools that we have in a minute, but we do see statistical gains in their sequencing ability, conditional logic, algorithmic thinking, and overall computational thinking skills. And each of these areas are areas that we focus on in the curriculum. And we also provide some student and teacher testimonials gathered from our interviews with students and teachers throughout the years. You get to create something on your own and personalize it, inspires us to do more incredible things, started to do a lot of outside programming, making our own Fortnite game. And then teachers who really buy in and believe into the mission of elementary computing for all, even without any prior computing experience. They see their students light up after a lesson, after things connect, after they get to build things and share it with their friends. And it's been really great to hear these takeaways from our teachers. So now we can move on to the curriculum. So our entire curriculum is online, openly available, and it has been carefully scaffolded in a variety of ways. And I'll provide a quick overview here, and I'll also let Dana jump in to say anything that she wants to add, since she is one of our curriculum gurus on the team. So our curriculum covers 5 different units. And again, it's a year-long, generally 1 hour per week curriculum. So first one is just computer science and Scratch basics, getting logged into Scratch, which has been incredibly important this year in a virtual setting, how to get all of your students logged into the same thing at the same time. It's been great learning experiences. So getting used to Scratch, understanding what it is, and using the tip and see scaffolded inquiry methods from University of Chicago, our collaborators, to guide students through understanding Scratch code. And we also do unplugged activities. So you can see here in Unit 1, we play we use Scratch charades. And through all of these, you can open up the lesson slides and click through those after they load. And then also we have student workbooks, teacher workbooks, different forms, different resources and links to the Scratch projects, all of it is consolidated into this one site, which has been a fantastic resource for us, sharing with you and our teachers to access it as well. So after a brief introduction to Scratch and algorithmic a brief introduction to Scratch, we go into our other units. So we talk about sequence, events, loops, and if they get to it, synchronization. So slowly building on prior knowledge, computational thinking concepts, and learning about how to do each of these things. And again, each of these has all of the materials linked. And for each of these, they have a project that they build at the end and share with their class. And we have access to all of their Scratch studios. So it's been great to see how creative they get with all of these projects. Dana, do you want to add anything to this?
Sure. If you guys, if you're interested in using any of this material, you can contact us, or you could just use it. If you click on the links to virtual learning Google Forms, some of the workbook pages we've turned into Google Forms. So when people are teaching online, it's easy for the students to interact. And so there's a lot of resources to help you and help the teachers teach it to their students, and a lot of teacher support. So the teacher's guide has slides of each of the units, and so it will help them say what they need to say as they're teaching it. So this was designed for teachers who hadn't had any prior computing experience, and so that is what we've tried to aim to help out. I think that's it.
Awesome. And I do also want to mention and emphasize as well, since we are integrating this into English curriculum and focusing this on supports for multilingual students, we do specify vocabulary and provide linguistic scaffolding throughout the lessons in order to help students learn these concepts and learn how to use these concepts and these words as they talk about what they did and what they built and what they have learned throughout this. So again, you're welcome to always scroll through that. And we constantly are updating it. So every year we gather feedback from our teachers ongoing throughout the year. Hey, this didn't quite work, or hey, this has a small grammatical issue even. And we take that to heart and we update it. So Dana and other members on our team and University of Chicago work constantly to improve this. So we are always open to questions and feedback, and always looking to build our curriculum to make it as good as possible for our students and teachers.
Right. And there is a link at the bottom of that curriculum website for you, to provide comments and how you've used it and ideas that you might have. So we're trying to develop this as a group and collaboratively.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dana. Go ahead.
So a couple of the features which I think are maybe not unique, but are special about the curriculum is one is the kind of language and language integration and support and scaffolding we try to offer. And the other is what we call tip and see, which is the more structured form of inquiry. I wonder if either of you could talk a little bit about those two things and maybe show some examples.
Sure. So the tip and see is developed, it's based on the reading scaffolding. It's based on use, modify, create. So we use something that already exists, and then they modify it a little bit. And so through the tip and see activities, students are guided. They show them something and how it works, and they ask them to change little things, and they change the code, and they see how that affects the whole program. And in the end, they create something that's linked to that project, and they create something for themselves. This is introducing the concept,
Yeah.
and then after this, they create an entire project by themselves. So
Dana?
yes.
Dana, just to jump in there.
Yeah.
You know, I think people learned a lot that in literacy, rather than just going to students and saying, okay, write something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, you look at, a particular genre of writing, and then you look at how to modify or change that, in different ways. And then after you've gone through some of that more direct instruction, then you create something rather than just being told to create something. So Tip and See, who was developed not by us, but by colleagues in Chicago and Texas, is a way to go through that use, modify, and create, where the acronym Tip and See is the part of the use thing. As you're using it, first you look at the title, then you look at the instructions, then you look at the purpose, and then you play it and look at it. And then you see inside for the sprites, the events, and then you explore different things. Go ahead, Dana.
No, that's yeah, I think that's it.
And then do you want to, Dana, also talk about the linguistic scaffolds? And I'll try to pull it up in the student workbook with the reflection pages.
Sure. So there's a couple of things that we added, and one of the things that I is the rubric for each project that's created. If we can scroll down to the rubric, which will be right there. The rubric, it guides the students to what they need to do. This isn't a normal rubric where the last, the first column is the basics. And if a student has never used Scratch before, this is the most basic level that we want them to achieve. And that's okay if they stay there. But to diversify the learning, if students have already taken a class in coding, then we challenge them a little bit so they can choose what they want to do and how they can be a little bit more creative and how they can learn something new. We provide links to help them advanced if they already know the basics, but everyone doesn't have to be at one of those columns. The students can choose. So we created this so they can set their own expectations. And then two things we added were the reflection, and there's self-reflection and reflection on their classmates. So the rubric is set for the classmate, the next one, the classmate comments, that one. Yeah. So the students assess one another based on that rubric. And so they're really figuring out what the criteria is and what their goals are for the unit. And I think that that's important because sometimes we get lost in the creation and they don't know what their takeaway is. And so this is one of the things that we've added because reflection is such an important part of where learning actually happens. And the second type of reflection is a self-reflection, which Miranda was talking about. And one of the ways that we're supporting the development of language and literacy using these concepts in context is by providing these language scaffolds. And they don't have to use these language scaffolds and vocabulary, but it is, it's available for students to put their thoughts in a cohesive sentence. And the questions reflect their understanding of the concepts, their reflection on the process of the project, and on their involvement and what they liked about the project. So at the end of every unit, they go through this process.
And then I think I saw an alert that a hand was raised.
Oh, hi. It's are you taking questions now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime, yes.
Sure. So I'm Preeta Menon, and I just to give you a background. My background is in supporting multilingual learners in content learning, and so this
Awesome.
is very useful and helpful. I just like if you could help me understand. So I see these scaffolds you've provided, and it's I think it's not often we give it to students to help them reflect on what they have learned. So I really like the one and you have made it very student friendly. And this scaffold, which is right now on the screen, is also helping students think about the computational process. It sort of like, I use this event block to do this. This is sort of the logic model. And how helpful do you think was in creation? But do you have any other scaffold for the language development besides providing those words? How do those students engage in language which is relevant to computational thinking? When we say computational thinking, there's a certain language involved in that, isn't it? Like when we say science, math, I'm not talking about the academic language, but the fact that they are learning certain skill sets in computational thinking. Like, how would they talk about logic? Is there a scaffold about that? Like, if I did this, then this happened. I was just wondering if there was something during the process of their engagement in these scratch activities. Was there some scaffold, or did you just provide these towards the end of the project? So I'm just curious about that.
So throughout the projects, we tried to integrate more interaction for the students. And so
Okay.
when the teacher talks about it, we introduce the vocabulary
Okay.
and help them in partner pairs when it starts to connect the concept that we're teaching to their everyday life. So everything begins there, just to begin to put the concept in their head. The language scaffolding that we provide is shared through the teacher, and the teacher's giving that through the workbook as we kind of explain what they need to be thinking about, the computational processes, for instance, sequencing and loops, the repetition of something, what happens first, second, third. So those concepts, as far as on the English spectrum, they're not super complicated vocabulary, but using them appropriately. So the tension that we have is, it's very important for them to interact and be using this language, hearing it from the teacher, sharing it with one another. But it's the time it takes, right? Like, we have 1 hour a week for 23 lessons. Exactly. And so we want them doing it, and we want them thinking about it. We want them reading about it. Another aspect that we put into the curriculum is role models. And so there's also a lesson, four lessons on teaching them about people who have been successful from a variety of diverse backgrounds. And so there's just a lot of content. So that's the way that we do it. And they are talking about what people have done and how they got there through these role models and the processes they went through, the perseverance. And this is all part of computation, I believe, as well, the perseverance and the skills that they need to achieve. So that's how we're helping students to use language and put the concepts in their minds to connect.
So there's also this concept of mindset also, isn't it? It's not just computation.
That's right.
Helping them develop a mindset. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. And attitude, like this, I can do it. This is fun. First I did this, I did this. I made a mistake and I was able to fix it and I helped somebody. So that is also in the rubric. And we kind of struggled with, do we put like perseverance in the rubric? Because a rubric can't measure it. It's immeasurable, but having them know that it is a goal that they need to be working on. I asked for help when I needed it. That's great. But if you try to do it before you ask for help, that's even better. And if you can solve it without asking help. So those types of things, we're trying to show them that these are the important concepts to be successful and to enjoy computer science.
Thank you so much.
I think I'm sure you're familiar with this, Preeta. Maybe some of the others aren't. There was a National Academies report just put in the chat on English learners in STEM subjects, which we draw a lot on their framework. We integrate a lot of pair programming and pair reflection to introduce some of the elements that Preeta mentioned. We're also a big believer, though, in kind of content first. So it's more important for us that children are able to talk about the ideas than that, there's no prerequisite where they have to learn all the vocabulary and the language to start it. So when we introduce things like, we often start with unplugged activities so that, children are kind of physically embodying them and talking about what they're doing, using more everyday language related to things like loops or sequences or algorithms or orders or things, and then transitioning from an unplugged activity to a hands-on activity.
Okay, this is good. So yeah, because when I just saw that, I thought that's the only thing. So this makes sense now. But I know within a short time it's difficult to explain everything. Just quick clarification. If I
And I have to say, we were a little bit thrown by the loop because the person who was going to give this presentation, focusing on some of those things, had a family emergency, an ill parent who ducked out. So I'm sort of frantically looking around while we're talking for the slides that she was going to show.
Okay, now this makes sense because I was a bit confused. So because I know when you said multilingual learners, the other aspect wasn't. There was something missing, I felt. So that being said, to access this, do you have the website and where we can go and then go to the Google Docs, or this would be really helpful for some of the teachers we work with?
Sure. Dana, can you put that in the chat?
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's it. Oh, all right.
Yeah, I can put the link in as well.
So if I go to that, then the other links would automatically.
Yes.
Yes, it's all linked.
And so when you go to curriculum, it opens up in a whole new tab even. So yeah, and especially we already had a lot of that infrastructure built in, but especially with the switch to online learning, it was essential. So shout out to all of our team for making that happen.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I see we have another question.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. When you were creating the curriculum, what thoughts about UDL went into the planning and the design of the curriculum?
Good question. Yeah, multiple ways of yeah.
Let me just
you want to go ahead.
I'll introduce it and then you guys can gather your thoughts and add to it. I should tell you a little bit about the history of this curriculum, which is, we knew we wanted to do something that was more language and literacy focused, and we looked around and we found originally there was a scratch curriculum that was developed by a team at Harvard called the Creative Computing Curriculum. Then, as it turns out, San Francisco Unified School District, which had a lot of funding from Salesforce and had a big computer science team for several years, decided to elaborate that curriculum with more of a focus on English language arts. So that was the curriculum that we adopted. Then, in a lot of our early research on the use of the curriculum, we had, and we'll see this in the tools. I think that this is one of the tools on the tools tab, I hope. We have let's see if it's there. We use a UDL plus computer science observation tool to kind of look at what UDL strategies are being used by various teachers. And then we learn from that to kind of further refine the curriculum over the years to introduce, emphasize and introduce more of the elements in the curriculum, such as the reflections and the paired programming and some other things that would help give rise to use of these UDL strategies.
Thank you.
Perfect. Do you want to add anything, Dana?
So different ways that we try to present the information to student in a lot of different ways. So the last iteration of the curriculum, we've tried to put in more videos, more pictures, different ways for students to learn the material, and then for them to be able to, say what they've learned, if they wanted to write it. And we've created some different ways for them to share their projects, like in a gallery walk or online, the ways. So we've given ideas of how teachers could do that within the curriculum. But yeah, I think sharing the information with students, how we represent it to the students, we've made a big effort to, just use different modalities, video, pictures, symbols that connect both in the workbook and in the slides and in language when we are helping teachers explain things. So we're trying to have them point to the same concept in a variety of different ways.
Thank you.
Awesome. So with that, I think that's a great transition into our tools. And always happy to take more questions about the curriculum. Great questions. But we can start to move through some other parts of our site. So as I mentioned earlier, we measure computational thinking identity and attitudes, and also computational thinking content knowledge for our students. In terms of the computational thinking knowledge, excuse my dog, delivery drivers during the pandemic are not her favorite thing. So in terms of measuring computational thinking knowledge, that's actually part of where I come in to the team. And so we created something that we call ACEs, Assessment of Computing for Elementary Students. So this is built for our curriculum, focusing on loops and sequences with block-based questions, as well as more free-form questions that don't necessarily rely on specific code segments. And we have done preliminary validation on this assessment and are continuing to iterate on and improve on the assessment to measure learning gains as our students progress through the curriculum. And that is free and open for people to use, and the website is updated whenever we make new iterations that we analyze. And we have more on that with a publicly available publication. In terms of coding attitudes and identity, we actually have adopted a survey that comes validated out of a group in Utah, analyzed with over 5,000 students, and very rigorously theoretically motivated as well. And it covers the different aspects of identity and attitudes that we wanted to cover. So we said, why reinvent the wheel? We'll use this fantastic tool that's been made available to the community. We went over our observation tools, and actually the same group that developed the coding attitude survey that we use also developed a teacher beliefs about coding and CT survey. Again, theoretically motivated, well validated, and measures the same constructs that we were already looking at. And this is something that we is new, and so we didn't find it before the start of this school year, so we haven't used it yet, but are very excited to use it for this upcoming school year. But we wanted to be preemptive about posting it on our website and share these amazing tools that our community is creating that can promote more knowledge in the community. Okay. And then otherwise, the rest of the site, we have our events, including this lovely information session, but also list of where our work has been published and where we have presented over the past few years. We also include information about our funding from National Science Foundation and Department of Education, And then we also include a team page. So shout out to all of our fantastic team members that are listed here. And
can you give me, can you stop sharing? I want to share some slides as well.
And I see we have a question too. Do you want to take that now, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead and take that. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Haruna. I'm also from Boston, along with Anita and Brian. And we're here as a team because we're sort of in the not beginning stages, but we're in the process of planning our elementary computer science program for all of Boston's elementary school right now. So we've looked at Harvard's creative computing curriculum. We've looked at San Francisco curriculum. We've looked at New York City's curriculum, and now we're also looking at this, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. I was wondering what your reasoning was for starting with the 4th grade, since we're also thinking about not tackling the entire K through 6 at the time and possibly picking some grade levels. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts around that, and also if you have any plans for expanding to other grade levels.
Mark.
It's like you set us up for that. The first year we did it, we just did a scatter shot. We wanted to do it in upper elementary grades, which are 3, 4, and 5 in Santa Ana Unified. So some teachers did it in 3, some teachers did it in 4, some teachers did it in 5. We consulted with the school district afterwards and said, if we're going to really bring this out to all schools, it needs to be systematic. Which grade do you think we should really focus on? And they said to us, 3rd, we're still focusing so much on like reading and literacy, and 5th is kind of transition to middle school. Let's do 4th. So they said they wanted to do it in 4th. So we've been doing it in 4th. It's been going really well. Now, having said that, we're expanding it. We're developing the 5th grade curriculum right now. And we will have the shell of the 5th grade curriculum done by the end of this summer. And then we're going to pilot it and do some further refinement over the year next summer. And so we'll have like the basic shell this summer, and then with some more of the detailed linguistic scaffolding activities a year from now in 5th grade. Well, it turns out the school district is really, I was kind of thinking, boy, with the pandemic and everything, they're going to be so set back. I mean, they're not even going to be able to think about, continuing this kind of work. But I think the pandemic just made them realize that, wow, first of all the teachers got used to using technology, and all the children did. And I think that they got more excited. So now we decided to try to go the whole K to 5 spectrum. So we're partnering with Marina on some stuff, and to see if we can do that in Santa Ana. So that would take care of K to 2. And Marina is already thinking about a curriculum that would kind of transition from Scratch Junior to Scratch that we could do in grade 3. And then our curriculum in grade 4 and grade 5. So that would give us the K to 5 curriculum. But we decided to focus on grade 4, because of feedback from the school district.
Great, thank you so much.
Can I add a resource that we haven't yet put on our website, but if you're interested in using this curriculum for many teachers, many schools, in Chicago, there was a studio grader that was created specifically for the projects in this curriculum. I'll put a link to it in the chat, and I can share my screen very, very briefly, but it's fantastic that a teacher can take the link from the studio with all of the students' projects, and it's been programmed to pull out the criteria that we've chosen on those rubrics that we saw, so they don't have to open every single project to get feedback. There's also an individual the students can put their own in so they can see if they've met the criteria. So it's one thing to have a project, but to give feedback, like helpful feedback, I think that's a very strong element of this curriculum. So I could show it to you real quickly just to see how simple it is to use. And the link I just gave you leads you exactly here. So
yeah, unfortunately, whoever set this meeting up it doesn't seem that you can click on or oh, some of these you can click on and some of them you can't. That's interesting. I don't know why that's the case.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, I don't have a studio to demonstrate right here, but all you do is you click the studio link and click on which project it is, and you can, yeah, you can get the feedback from yeah, all your students' projects. So I think that that is something that would be available. The code for that is on GitHub. So if you do something a little bit differently and you have somebody that codes, you can create your own. So I think it's fantastic that it's something that we could alter for your needs.
Thanks.
Quick question.
I want to go ahead.
No, I just wanted to know that so this feedback is on the coding of that project, isn't it? It's automated feedback?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, it's the code blocks that they're supposed to be using, or actually I didn't code it, so I don't know exactly what they're looking for, but it is the criteria that is listed in the rubric.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show you a few more things from this slideshow that we developed as part of our PD that illustrate some of the things that we were talking about. So this is from that National Academies report, and it kind of summarizes, you know, the ways, the things on the left are from general instructional strategies for, and I shared this link in the chat as well, and we'll also email these links out to people. But you know, the left shows the basic strategies that they came up with, and then the right shows that how we're trying to implement those in computer science classrooms. Engage students in disciplinary practices, engage students in CS practices, etc. Could you say something quickly about Scratch charades? We haven't talked about that.
Sure. So when we were taught, well, this slide that you're looking at right here is the program. It's just that we try to put the interaction in many different places. So one of the places is in in the Scratch charades, or in the conversations that is scattered.
Tell us what Scratch charades are. People don't know what those are.
Oh, okay. Scratch charades, we got this from code.org, but it's a way for students to understand sequencing. And so we tell them certain actions, and they act out cards that they are given, and students see them acting, and then the other students have to put the actions in the correct order as they're seeing it. So it's the concept of making sure things happen as they should, and the importance of the sequence. And so it has nothing to do with the computer, so they can learn these concepts in the classroom, moving their bodies, having fun, making a memory. We were able to do this online as well. So it's
By the way, I see a hand up in Boston. Was that from before, or that's a new question?
Sorry, that's from before. I never lowered them.
Okay.
There we go.
Let's see. So, you know, using a lot of registers, using multiple modalities, opportunities for reflection, visualizations. Just giving you an overview of, we have simulations and videos that are available as part of the teacher resources that they can show to the students. We encourage students to kind of make connections between the things they're understanding, things they already understand, and the target concepts. You know, we have videos about diverse pioneers in computer science. We have activities where children are telling stories about their own lives, such as a name poem activity. We talk about memorable mentors in computer science. We teach, we teach specific phrases that they can use while they're doing pair programming.
Anita,
That's
you have
often
a question?
I do, but it can wait.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
We've already talked about, giving them some phrases to use, some scaffolds to use in their reflections. We provide PowerPoints for the teachers.
Something that we're working right now also, we're very much in touch with the teachers and trying to make the implementation of the curriculum stronger. And so we're gathering short videos to help, sorry about this sound, videos to help students use it as a resource page of how to do, how to create a background, and how that's been difficult for teachers to wrap their hand around what Scratch is if they haven't taught before. So I think that will make it much easier and less intimidating for teachers to have everything in one place that could be accessed by students and teachers.
Dana. Thanks, Dana. So here's an example of the tip and see activity. We ask them questions, what happens first, what happens next, what happens last. So they're kind of analyzing an existing program. Explore, which block made the first thing happen, which block made the next thing happen, which block made the last thing happen. So it's providing structure to their inquiry experiences. Make this change, what happens. It's kind of walking them through understanding how the program works. Brainstorm with a classmate different things you can do to make your sprite do things. Very specific instructions. Find a sequence that you both do in your regular everyday lives. So it's like applying things from your everyday lives to programming environment. And then a culminating project was a name poem, creating a name poem. And then we have rubrics for them, reflection journals, peer feedback. I don't know why this is so slow here. I keep clicking, nothing happens.
That's the last slide.
Oh, that's the last slide. Okay. So that's just, if you want to take a more look at that, you can do that. Let's see if I can figure out how to stop sharing here. Okay, Anita, what was your question or comment?
Yeah, so I did have a question. So it's particular to Boston Public Schools, but a question on, so we have teachers that are technology teachers in K through 6, but then we also don't have, some of our schools don't have technology teachers, and we have science teachers who are delivering some computer science curriculum. So my question is about your curriculum. Was it designed for technology teachers who see their students once a week? Because I think I heard that. Or is there maybe a plan down the road for a gen ed teacher to be able to incorporate some of this in their class? Because that's something we would love to hear about.
This is not a plan down the road. This is entirely taught by gen ed teachers since we started it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this curriculum is for a gen ed teacher to incorporate in their classes.
Yeah, and we do have a summer PD. If Boston wanted to pilot this, we could possibly, even because it's going to be online, we could possibly incorporate some people from your district in our PD this summer. Mm-hmm. But we have a summer PD. In the future, it was kind of an intense, few days where they did it all together, 5 or 6 hours a day for a few days. But because it's going to be virtual this summer, as it was last summer actually, but this time it's going to be virtual. We're going to spread it out over a 4 or 5 week period, and we're creating more videos. So it's going to be more kind of flipped instruction. We're going to have videos that people watch, and then we're going to have them work in teams. And Dana's been working a lot with people from Chicago on that. We're going to have teachers from Chicago. And in one of our grants, we brought in Chicago Public Schools. So we have people from Chicago and Santa Ana joining the PD. If you want to pilot this in Boston, I think we don't have any money to pay your teachers, but we wouldn't charge them either.
And the good thing about these videos, we're trying to make the instructions asynchronous. So we're trying to make them short 3 to 6 minute videos, so it's not intimidating for your teachers. But at any time that you want to train, if it's in December, we hope to make them available for you. So we're very much focusing on teachers that are very busy, that don't know necessarily what computer programming is. So that's what we're building supports for, that population.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. And we'll be in touch about the potential of doing a PD together. We're still assessing what we want to do. So, so we can definitely contact you if that's the case.
Yeah, it will probably start up either the last week of June or the beginning of July.
Excellent. Thank you.
Remind me again who's here. So who else is from Boston? Raise your hand. Okay, so 3 of you from Boston. Preeta, you're from a research center at Stanford?
Yes.
Who else are you working with there?
Well, we are part of the Understanding Language group, which Kenji Hakuta had started. So we have Jeff Swears, Stephen Weiss, and Annie. So our centers just joined the bigger research center, the Center for Support and Excellence in Teaching. So we are looking ways of expanding and moving. So we're right now under the big umbrella of CSET. They're called CSET at Stanford. Yeah.
Great. And Jessica, remind me where you are?
I'm at NC State University, and I'm at the Friday Institute for Educational Innovation.
What other questions or comments do people have?
Thanks for sharing this. This has been really helpful. Especially since you said this is for general ed teachers, I think this will be a very helpful tool for teachers who are looking into doing computational, thinking. I had a quick question regarding your data. Did you have, I don't know to what extent, I know you said something at the beginning about the student. How did they respond? You had something on identity, is that it?
Yeah, we have we have 2 tools. We have a very well-motivated and validated computer science identity or computer science attitude survey. We didn't develop that, somebody else developed it, but it's very theoretically strong. It's based on a lot of the work of Jacqueline Eccles on self-efficacy and in learning. That's what we're using for that. We're using it as a pre and post measure. Okay. And then we also have a computational thinking measure, which again has been developed for elementary schools by Miranda, our own Miranda. Wave your hand, Miranda. So those are the 2 main, and then we have some observation protocols, a UDL protocol, and some other observation protocols.
Okay, thank you so much. It's not often we see for elementary school students, we see attitudes and attitudinal surveys. So this is really very helpful. Thank you so much.
Just a note about the survey that you used. I'm really glad that you used the ESCAS one and not the CSAIS one, because I used that for my study and it needed a little bit more strength. So I'm glad.
I don't remember what we were using before. And, we do have some results on our website, but I have to say, they were presented, but I have to say they're pretty weak sauce so far, because they were done in 19,000 to 20, which was really, in 18 to 19, which was really the first year we didn't have the best measures and this and that. And then the next year, 19 to 20, when we really got our act together, then 2/3 of the way through the year, the pandemic started, instruction ended. And then this year we're doing it, but it's all online. It's not the same. So hopefully by next year we'll have better data. But we are happy with the measures that Miranda has in one case created and the other case found.
That's great.
So we love to stay in touch with people who are doing this kind of work. So, feel free to we'll send out a link to the recording and also the chat, so you can follow up on some of the things that were in the chat. But if any questions or comments come up afterwards, just pop me an email. And if the people in Boston want to, collaborate, and more in depth, would be happy to do that too.
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, Miranda and Dana, can you stick on for a minute?
Sure. Great to meet everyone. Thanks for coming. And yeah, I look forward to being in touch with you. Your comments will be great.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.